Okay, we're gonna finish this cafe menu so you guys can get that done and get it under your belt here. Get on to the next one. Give it a second here to load. All right, next one. That looks better. Now try to add some 20x padding to the top and bottom of the menu. So padding top is 20 pixels. Padding bottom is 20 pixels. That looks pretty good. Since all four sides of the menu have the same internal spacing, go ahead and delete all the four properties and use a single padding property. So that if you have padding is the same for all top, right, left, and bottom, just make one padding thing which covers all that for the amount that you want it to be, 20 pixels. The current width of the menu will always take up 80% of the body element width on a very wide screen. The coffee and dessert appear far apart from their prices. If you space that out, you see how they appear very far away. Add a max width property to the menu class with a value of 500 pixels. Max width is 500 pixels. There, it stays the same though. But it does shrink because that's a max width, not a min width. You can change the font family of text to make it look different from the default font of the browser. Each browser has some common fonts available to it. Change all the text in your body by adding a font family of property with the value sans serif. There we go. So that applies. If you do it to the body, it applies to the entire thing. It is a bit boring for all the text to have the same font family. You can still have the majority of the text sans serif and make just the H1 and H2 elements different using a different selector. Style both the H1 and H2 elements using a single selector, so that these elements use impact font. So now we can further define just the H1 and H2 elements to have a font family of impact. Yeah, so now that looks good because as you can see, the overall font is sans serif for everything, but for H1 and H2 elements, which is this, and this, we override it with the impact font because it further defines it within that H1 and H2 element with the CSS. Sorry, it's my dog. Let me let him out. Go. All right, add the fallback font serif after the impact font. This is the fallback font in case that one doesn't work. There we go. Make the established date 2020 text italicized by creating an established class selector and giving it the font style property with the value italic. So remember, you can use EM for this within your HTML, make an EM tag around that, or you can actually use the font style and style it with italic within the CSS. So we have established is this P tag right here. So we're not adding that yet we're just adding it now to the CSS, and we're going to give it a font style of italic. But now we need to go back into the HTML and add that to add that here to the established. The typography of the heading elements H1 and H2 is set by default values of the user's browser. Add two new type selectors, H1 and H2. Use the font size property for both, but use the value 40 pixels for the H1 and 30 pixels for the H2. So add two new type selectors, H1, H2, and use the font size property for both, but use the value 40 pixels for H1 and 30 pixels for H2. Okay. So they want us to make one individually for each one, I think. So H1 font size is 40 pixels. H2 font size is 30 pixels. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Add a footer element below the main element where you can add some additional information. So we're going to add a footer below the main. Footer. Okay, that's good. Inside the footer, add a P element, then nest an anchor element in the P that links to www.freecodecamp.org and has, okay, add a P element. P, then nest an anchor text inside the P element. So close the P element, and then inside it, we're going to add an anchor text. Ahref equals, this is what it's going to link to, is Free Code Camp. This is the site we're on. It's going to link to its own site. And then it has a text, visit our website. Make sure that the link opens in a new tab by adding target equals blank. So we're going to add target. Target equals blank. So now if you click it, it opens in a new tab. You see down here, visit our website. If you click it, it won't bring you there because we're in the Free Code Camp dev environment. But in a normal, if you were coding this normally on a text editor or within GitHub, you would be able to, this would render and you would be able to click it and go to that link in a new tab. Nice. So now we're going to go to 65, add a second P element below the one with the link and give it a text 123 Free Code Camp Drive. So add another P element. P. Okay. You can use an HR element to display a divider between sections of different content. First, add an HR element between the P element with the class established and the first section. So HR is like a divider. You can do this different ways. So if you were adding how to add dividers with HTML and CSS. There's different ways to do this. You can use HR elements, which are nice, and you can style the HR elements. That's actually the way I would do it, is the HR element. But there is other ways to do this with it. You could make a div. So if we went into our into here and we built this out and we said div class equals height like 3 and then width full and then background black. Maybe height 2. And then you get the idea here. If you want to padding 7, no, margin 7. Yeah. So you got your thing right there. And I don't know why. Oh, it's got we need a margin Y7. Yeah. So there. See, that's another way to do a divider. Is that as well? So you can use that, or you can use the HR element. So that's the HR element, and you can style it with class equals height of 2. So I guess you can't style it with Tailwind. You can't style an HR with Tailwind, but you can do an HR with regular CSS. So if you did so HR solid, try this. We go in here, Get rid of all this. We don't need any of that anymore. HR solid border top. We make HR solid 10 pixels. Yeah, you can style it like that. Make it black. Yeah, so you can. Those are the two ways to do dividers. So you can do it with Tailwind and CSS or CSS and do it just as a div, or you can do it as an HR element. Those are the two ways to do that. So back to this. For now, we're going to do the HR element. HR. And it adds it right there for you, which is nice. So it says it shouldn't have an ending tag. It just should be HR. Nice. The default property of an HR element will make it appear as a thin, light gray line. You can change the height of the line by specifying a value for the height. So we're going to style the HR with a height of 3 pixels. Makes it a little bigger. Next, we're going to change the background color of the HR to brown so it matches. So we are going to do, I think it's either color or background color of brown. So it's not color, it's going to be background color. Yep, there you go. And just testing things. If we made it width full, would it spread the whole distance? Let's see. How to make an HR span the width of its parent container. Maybe width 100%. Let's try that. Width 100%. Still doesn't do anything. I don't know why it's doing that, because on my Tailwind thing here, we made it 100%, where it spread the whole distance. Let's see if we changed it here. HR, if we made it width 50%, yeah, it makes it 50%. If we made margin auto, it would put it in the middle. So that's how you do that. So I guess it's just a little different on this for this free code camp course, but we'll keep going. Notice the gray color along the edges. Those edges are known as borders. Each side of an element can have different color, or they can all be the same. Make all the edges of the HR element the same color as the background of it using the border color. So when using border color, you don't have to use border color. You can do just border with CSS and define everything you want within one thing. So you can say dashed red, or you can make it solid red or solid brown, all in one thing. Border color is just a further way of defining that it just does the color. So you just define the color with it. So you can make a border color, border style, border width, and define each one individually, or you can define it all with just the border class. It's kind of like the padding or margin class, which you can do padding left, padding top, padding bottom, or you can just do padding, and it defines all of that for you. Okay. That's free. Or no. Here we go. Okay. All right, there we go. Step 70. Notice how the thickness of the line looks bigger. The default value of a property named border width is 1 pixel for all edges. Change the height property of the HR to be 2 pixels. And so the total height of it becomes 4 pixels. Okay. Go ahead and add another HR element between the main element and the footer element. So between main and footer, we're going to add HR. So it adds it right there, starting to come together here. Create a little more room around the menu. Add 20 pixels of space on the inside of the body element by using padding. Okay, let's take a break and we'll come back to this to finish 73 through 90 later. So thank you.